Aloha, and welcome to this episode of Conservation Conversations Hawaii. My guest today is someone who is a teacher, a farmer, an entrepreneur, an innovator, and an inventor. And I'm very excited to have her on the show. She is Tina Keko Olani, the creator and owner of Haleakala Supah Shots. You may have tried the product. I certainly have, and very excited to talk with her today. Welcome, Tina.
Aloha Kuhea, so excited to be here. Mahalo for having me. I brought some stuff for you to show you, so very excited. Thank you
All
for
right,
having me.
virtual show and tell. I love it. So let's straight off get to know you a little bit better. And I know we've known each other for quite a while now. We worked together once upon a time, but you've gone on to do so many really exciting things, and we're going to get to it today. But let's start off with the most common question. So, Tina, what high school did you go to?
Sacred Hearts Academy. Kaimuki!
Kaimuki. And what's the mascot of Sacred Hearts? I don't think I know that.
Lancers.
Oh, Lancers.
You know, the jousting on the horses with the Lancers.
Right.
How strange, yeah? That's so far from Hawaii, but actually, you know, that I'm getting off the subject. Lancers.
Well, it's not so far-fetched because my middle school that I went, in fact, it wasn't even called middle school then. My intermediate school that I went to, our mascot, we were the Lancers as well. So
Really?
Yes.
So it is definitely the British influence in Hawaii.
I suppose you're right.
Being part Medi, we are in Hawaii. It's on our flag. So there you go.
There you go.
Our Hawaiian flag.
So after high school, did you go on to college, and what did you study?
My father was an architect and a Hawaiian singer. My mom was in women travel industry. I became an artist, but I also followed my family hula background and footsteps by becoming a professional dancer, traveling the world, and representing Hawaii. So I have some interesting stories for you today as we talk about conservation, about that.
I know you're full of very interesting stories, and starting with your childhood, and I know you grew up kind of running around the streets of Waikiki, and of course it was a time period that was probably a lot safer than it is today.
Safer.
And your parents
Little
could
kids.
just kind of let you go off and do your thing while they were doing their thing. Yep. So tell us a little bit more about that.
That was fun. So growing up, you know, being as a child of a travel agent in the heyday of, you know, the travel boom to Hawaii, Hawaiian hospitality, Hawaiian entertainment in Waikiki, movies are made of that. And so as a little child, roaming the streets, you know, my mom didn't have to worry. Right down the street was Duke's Lane. That's the Don Ho and Zulu show. And I could just run down there and know what uncles and aunties I can, you know, hang out with. International Marketplace. Run down there, hang out with the Korean store ladies, go to the beach, you know, take my little boogie board and go back to my mom's travel office. And always she wouldn't have to worry because, you know, back in the day there was, you know, people in the travel industry who were everywhere.
Right, all the aunties in the aunties in the international marketplace, they probably all looked after you for your mom and made sure you were safe and not getting into too much trouble. But
not too much then.
What did your mom had a very interesting career in Waikiki. You want to tell us more about that?
Yep, my mom and her cousins. So Magic Hula Studio, it's a very famous, you know, hula studio. My Auntie Loke, Auntie Rose Kapulani Joshua, she was a hula master, and a lot of us, we're under that lineage. And we, as little cousins, were schooled from Auntie Loke and her daughters. The Magic Hula Studio, you know, produced and influenced so many greats to the Tihati family, to kumuhula everywhere. They all know Auntie Rose Joshua, Magic Hula Studio, and her daughters, who became, judges for the Merry Monarch. So we definitely were raised in that ohana, and my cousins went on to run the Polynesian show of the Disney World. And so a lot of us cousins kind of, were assigned maybe to different places, but me under my mom, you know, I followed in those footsteps, and I became a professional Polynesian dancer with halau and with production companies. So I'm very grateful for the tutelage and the professionalism and the lineage that I was raised in.
Wow, that is a fascinating childhood. You're very, very fortunate. And,
Yeah,
I'm sure you learned a lot of lessons from your early childhood that really inspired the person that you are today. And of course, your,
absolutely.
your parents and all the aunties in the halau and everyone. But, Hawaiian culture and the environment naturally goes hand in hand and are
Yeah.
really reliant upon each other. But is there anyone you think really helped you shape your values around those two things together? Hawaiian culture, practices, traditions, and the environment, because you know, we're approaching Earth Day, and but you're someone who may not be a traditional conservation person who's out there, saving endangered species and
Right.
building fences and whatnot. But you are a conservationist. You live Earth Day every day, 24/7, three
Yes.
six
Yeah.
five. So who is there anyone in particular that kind of helped you bring those two worlds together to be the person you are now?
Oh, good one. So, yes, definitely my mom and my dad. My dad had the green thumb. My dad was always in the yard. My dad was always very conscious of his artwork, his architecture. He was one of Hawaii's great Hawaiian architects. He worked under Val Osipov, a very famous architect, but he was also inspired by Herb Kane and Polynesian navigation, and the great musicians, and my mom, the great musicians and cultural experts as well. So my mom and my dad, yes. Later on in life, I right before high school, my mom had me join Navai Haupuna, which is a very famous halau. Began with men, and we were the first wahine to enter Merry Monarch under O'Brien Eselu and Thaddeus Wilson.
Wow.
And as the first wahine entry ever for Nava'i Haupuna, we took first place.
Wow.
And it was six of us.
Wow. What year
Six
was
of
that?
us. And that was right when I was leaving high school. So like 87-ish.
Wow.
Yeah.
What an
And
accomplishment.
Reese, and yeah, it's a life accomplishment, and I treasure it. And so many, even some of the girls that were in that line, Tracy Farias, that's Karen Keawehavai's daughter, um, Leimomi Bacalso, Teresa Purcell, who went on to be on the cover of Kuana Torres Kahele's albums and Napalapalai. Leimomi and her husband run the luau here on Maui. So yeah, very good. My mom was Zulu's manager, so Zulu was like my calabash uncle. But um, being around these greats, and as a little child, I remember my mom driving and would go to Waikiki to pick someone up. Oh, she picked someone up. Well, that's a great Hawaiian musician that just got in the car, and they're just talking story about maybe life. So that's what I grew up around.
Wow.
Greats.
How
Yeah,
lucky
and
for
I
you.
very
Yeah.
appreciate that, but I also recognize from my aunties how much of a tiger businesswoman my mother was as well. She was a tiger.
Well, I think she definitely passed some of those traits on to you, and we're
She
gonna talk
was.
more. We're gonna talk more about that in a minute. So you mentioned traveling around the world, and I'm sure learning from lots of people during those travels. Um, did you observe anything or learn anything from or practices that you saw being carried out in other places that you kind of have brought into your work today?
I particularly wrote this down for this show when I was at the Hawaii Visitors Bureau. We were on the dance team, and we had expos, travel expos, where we would represent Hawaii, and we did a lot of Asia. So in Taipei, in particular, our dance team did a travel expo performance in a convention center, and it was a convention center full of travel agents in Taipei. They were all Asian, and they came to watch the show, of course, that we're promoting Hawaii. And as these travel professionals entered the convention center, they were all given orchid lei. They all put on the orchid lei. They watched the show. At the end of the show, all the travel agents, travel professionals began to exit towards the door. They each took off their lei and they piled it on the floor.
Oh
And
my
for me,
goodness.
that was not only a scene that we don't do that in Hawaii, that was heart heart wrenching. That was offensive, but they don't know our culture. But I had never in my entire life seen that. So I specifically remember that for your show today because we're talking about conservation. And what is conservation? The prevention of wasteful use of a resource. I had never experienced that in my life. So what happened? They all exited the convention center with this huge pile of lei on the ground. And for me, I turned to my hula sisters and I'm like, it's almost like I wanted to save a dying animal or something. So
Mhm.
I said, oh my God, let's go pick up these lei. And I don't know, maybe we can save it and give it to someone. So me and my hula sister were picking up these orchid lei that someone spent energy in in creating and making and was just regarded. So to me, it was almost like I felt like an ambassador of Hawaii, and the littlest thing, like a lei, was discarded. Wow, foreshadowing.
Right. And it
You
could
know,
have been a case of, monkey see, monkey do, where if someone is not familiar with the protocol or the tradition and they saw one person do that, then the rest just follow thinking that that is what you do. So
yeah, and
it could have been innocently done, but that was
the
unfortunate.
thing is that, yeah, and the thing is that it was in Asia, but no one was there to educate, was there to, we're the performers. I mean, now, yes, I could, if that happened, I wouldn't want that to happen without them being educated about
Right.
how connected that is to our culture.
Right.
So, so anyway, we gathered up the lei and where do we take it? We're in Taipei in a convention center. We took it to the
Yeah.
kitchen where there was a refrigerator, and I don't speak, the language, and I just want something like, can you share these? You know,
Yeah.
so and I wanted to tell you that, and
Well, that's
it's
thanks for sharing that. What an interesting story, and it just goes to show how important education is and sharing the culture. And when
yeah,
people come off the planes every day in Hawaii and they're greeted with a lei, and there is no explanation of what the lei means, what does it represent,
right,
and how do you handle that gift that you've been given. So, education
absolutely.
never underrated.
No, and when it takes something, it's energy that is a gift to represent your culture. Um, that is something that I hope folks acknowledge more of. You know why? Because hula Hula is Hawaii's most important conservation practice. Hula is the recorder. Hula is the expression of the energies in our environment. That is what we do in hula. We mimic the winds. We honor the trees. We tell stories of generations. So speaking of conservation, hula conserves.
And it
Hula
perpetuates
protects.
the
Hula
culture.
preserves. Absolutely. That is why it is our heartbeat. Yeah.
So do you have a favorite mantra that you like to use often?
Lately,
And what is that?
I do a brand new one, studying more nutrition and food as medicine and information. Human health cannot be separated from environmental health,
Mm,
and that is perfect for conservation.
spot on.
Human health cannot be separated from environmental health. And also, the way we treat our animals is how we treat ourselves and the planet. So when there are all these factory farming, of cows on that level, corporate food systems, that has really done our human health a wrongdoing right now.
What?
And I sent you some pictures of. There's that one picture. Sometimes I just walk into like a store that I don't usually like to walk into, like a Safeway, and that image of plastic everywhere is just out of control.
Yeah, our last couple of podcasts talked a lot about plastics and marine debris, and just you know
Yeah.
how we out of sight, out of mind, but yet they're washing up on our shores by the ton. But that's
Yeah.
a good segue to one talk about. I really want to get to your latest project, but I definitely
Mm-hmm.
want to start off with talking about your awesome invention, the Haleakala Super Shots, which
Yeah.
Arlie and I have been using for I don't know how long it's been. It's been a couple years or more, and we love your product. It's definitely
Mm-hmm.
has had a lot of great health benefits. But tell us more about your product, how it got started, and where you're at with that now.
Yeah. So that is it is pretty much a product of what we've been leading up. Well, what we've been talking. So my mom, she loved her chili peppers, um, and she always wanted me to learn from great kumu, great teachers. So figuring out kind of my own path and studying nutrition and being an athlete, and um, I was at a pretty young age, like in high school and beyond, um, very uh, athletic and health conscious. And things happen, life happens, and a new chapter begins. And being up here in Hawaiian homes in Waiahuli, um, I moved into a new home up here in Hawaiian Homes, and I wanted to be active in my community. And on Oahu, the daughter of a city girl and entertainment industry, always giving. My mom and my dad always gave and always were amazing hosts. And anytime anyone needed their help, they said yes. So I wanted to give back to this community, and there was a good amount of kupuna, and I wanted to create something. And being a teacher, never thought I was going to be a teacher. I had summers off, and I knew that I wanted to create. I loved baking. I used to bring, baked goods to the office,
Right.
and loved to have, my friends try the new things or whatever I could. So I started with salads up here in about 2004, I wanted to get involved and create community events or ho'olaulea. So I was helped to start our farmers markets up here in Keokea, Waiahuli, and I created the salads. And the salads, I wanted something, maybe a very different. Okay, so my mom's popped up. And chili pepper water. Okay, so chili pepper, the classic chili pepper water is savory, um, oniony, garlicky, gingery. A lot of times maybe too much salt, so I kind of wanted to add a new twist, and I added chili pepper water with fresh fruit. and studying the fruits of Maui. Of course, we want to use our resources well. Um, the fruits that can best pair with the heat of the nioi or the chili peppers. So lilikoi, that was the first one, and that was a hit.
That was a
And
hit for sure.
that was amazing when it first hit the first ho'olaulea. I couldn't believe it. I didn't even have a label,
Was
and
that
all the bottles sold.
2017 or so?
That was 2015-ish.
Okay.
2015-ish. And then I knew I had something, but I also noticed my own health because, during, periods we acknowledge that we may need some help. So I wanted to be able to learn from the lessons that I've learned from Kumu that I was around. I wanted to be able to heal myself. So certain things, happened in my health. So I wanted to heal myself. And so taking the information and the inspiration that I had and from my mom, I created the super shots. So this is a it's like a child. It's something that is my invention, but it's my baby, and it's something that I put lots of aloha in. I pule over everything. I thank those who taught me healing pule, healing prayers, prayers of protection, prayers of strength, and that goes into my bottles.
Well, let me
So
tell you, I mean, if for folks who haven't tried the Haleakala Super Shots, when you have it, you definitely feel better. You can tell that it's was made with love and intention, and the intention of healing. And I think when you feel good physically, then you feel much better mentally and emotionally. And you know, Arlie has my husband. He's been asking to eat more salad. So we've been eating a lot of salads lately, and I'd like to think that it's my influence, but it probably isn't. It's probably yours because we've had some of your salads and tasted some
did
of
you
your
like?
food, and he's been eating a lot more salad, which makes me happy because we both are healthier
Yeah.
when we eat more salad, and of course
Yes.
with super shots. So thank you, Tina.
When you're welcome. And when you feel happy, when you feel good, you can do so many more things. And that's another reason why I went back to salads. I hope you guys like that fruit salad that I created with
I
the
I
with
ate it
the
all. I already didn't
oh,
get any.
Arlo didn't
I
have
ate it all.
any.
No.
Okay,
I'll
well, there's
share next
more where
time.
that came from. And so that one is actually is really doing well, and there's pre-orders for that salad. So that salad I created to celebrate our farmers and our farmers who grow these fruits organically, grow these with really good practices of soil health. Um, the microgreens, that's mean the green sky. The other fruits that are in the salad, the mint that I grow, these are all from very mindful and purposeful farmers on Maui. And that is what these salads are. And this kind of even sounds awesome too. Oh, here's a salad. That's all
Right.
Maui, that is representative of that farmer and that farmer. So it's a collection
Oh,
because we are a
absolutely. And
community collaboration.
yeah, and just eating a salad that was made with all these locally grown products,
Yeah.
vegetables, fruits, herbs, and just knowing,
Yeah.
as you said, the pride and the intention that people put into growing these things. And then when they're put into a salad, as you're eating it, you can't help but just feel that and
Yeah.
enjoy that salad so much more.
Yes.
Yeah.
And here's the thing too is I feel like such a nutrition nerd because when people come up and they I'm like I'm so excited to explain the salad, and then one time I put orange mint in the salad, and then I'm giving them the health benefits of orange mint. So it's almost like I'm um, sharing the energy of my love for nutritional ingredients so that they can have that in them. So maybe they can do something with that. So mint is antimicrobial. Mint is also the thing that that the oils from mint is in, like the doTERRA oils, which is like can be $30 a bottle, right?
Right, right,
And
right.
you can grow it, and it's
Yeah.
free,
So
and it's
how much training or education did you have to obtain to know about the combinations of things? Because definitely, things
whew,
react with one another, sometimes
yeah,
good ways, sometimes maybe not so good ways. So, can you
yeah.
talk about that?
Yep. Actually, when I was working for Kaho'olawe, I studied nutrition online, and I almost got a certification. Um, but the I studied for years on my own, but I got really into it on when I was studying under nutritional online courses, and the rest I think is just being like a culinarian, like a foodie, when you can kind of that this doesn't overpower that. And so, for example, one of my first after the lilikoi chili pepper, I sampled other chili pepper waters. I created once a watermelon and mint. Watermelon is not bold enough for the chili pepper.
Kind of gets lost.
So it gets lost. Yeah. So I think it's trial and error. It's listening to folks around you, but really it's you diving in, and it's being a foodie, probably.
Yeah, I tell you what, Tina. I mean, I'm a total foodie now, and I love cooking, love eating.
Awesome.
I love talking about food, reading about food, watching TV programs about food. That's all
Yes.
I watch in my free time. Just love everything about food and how it's
Yeah.
grown and farmed and
Yeah.
everything about it. Back
Absolutely.
when I was working with you for the Ko'olawe Island Reserve Commission, I didn't have as much time to be a cook, but I definitely like to eat, and I definitely we would have benefited if you were cooking for everybody on the island and cooking nutritious food. Because I tell you,
I would have loved that.
I gained a lot of weight in a short amount of time just because of the eating
Office work.
office and being on island and just kind of justifying the calories because of the work that you're doing
Yeah.
outside. But
Right.
I tell you, I probably would have felt better if we were eating your salads and other nutritious
And
food.
you know what? I remember some awesome trips with PKO to Hakeoava, and you know, with the ingredients. I just remembered um, one trip. I think there was like a salad being made, but there's no dressing. So I was looking at the ingredients and whipped together a dressing, with like citrus and olive oil and salt and pepper
Yeah,
and maybe some vinegar
that's all
and
you
something
need.
else.
Yeah.
So it just kind of that knowledge and that passion and that inspiration kind of accumulate. The more you introduce yourself to healthy ingredients, the more creating makes you feel good and
Yeah, and
makes you feel happier.
yeah, and actually, once you do start cooking and experimenting with recipes, you find that making something like a salad dressing, it doesn't take very much to make something that's really delicious and better for you than what you would buy in a
Better for
bottle.
you.
Yeah, and then you
Absolutely.
make
And
it fresh every time.
you make it fresh. And so when I did create my lilikoi balsamic vinaigrette, I realized, wow, that was simple. That's simple to me. But then you go to the store and you get the vinaigrette, and there's ingredients that you can't pronounce. There's fillers. There's too much sugar. You don't know what kind of sugar they're being used. So really, the Western food system needs to change, but I don't think that's the mainland eating is pretty different from Hawaii, but here in Hawaii we can secure our own food direction and our
Yeah.
own sustainable nutritional practices. I mean, just our surroundings and our soil and the fruits. Some folks have never heard of Suriname cherries. Some folks have never understood how um, how nutrient rich liriko is or mint is. So here in Hawaii, and that's will lead up to that the projects that is happening
Yeah.
in the community.
Tell our viewers where they can find your Haleakala Super Shots because it's not going to be in Foodland on the shelf. Where can they get
Nope,
your product?
nope, and it's not going to sit in a 24-hour convenience store next to a Coca-Cola bottle because
No.
it doesn't belong there. Um, but so farmers markets are the best straight up way to see who is growing your food. It's the best way to hear how the food that you're about to eat or take home and prepare was grown. And that is kind of the opposite of what's happening in the food system. Everything is packaged or turned into powders. So whole foods, we need to get back to whole foods, plant, more plant-based diets. In Hawaii, our kupuna, people think of Hawaiian food, plenty pork, plenty beef. Our people were limus, the vegetables of the sea, lots of that, lots of fish, of course, tons of kalo, tons of uala, our canoe crops, but we didn't eat a whole lot of, we didn't have beef, but we didn't eat a whole lot of pork. It was reserved for, special occasions. So we
Yeah,
kind
that's
of
the thing
gotta get
is
back to that.
when visitors come to the islands and they attend a luau, there's the kalua pig, there's a lomi salmon, there's a lot of things that pineapple, there's a lot of things that aren't traditionally Hawaiian, but they walk
Right.
away thinking that that is Hawaiian food. So, and that translates to a lot of shows that you see on the Food Network and other places where
Yeah.
their versions of Hawaiian food are kind of
Pineapple on a pizza.
I know that's kind of a big debate about whether people like it or not, but what people's it shapes what people's understanding of Hawaiian food is, and so there's a lot of re-education that really needs to happen, and an appreciation
Yeah.
for some of the more simple foods.
Yeah.
But so getting into that area, tell us about your new venture that has to do with educating the
Mm-hmm.
community and I don't know if this is what you call them, but I'm calling them food islands that you are helping people to create, which is
Yeah.
essentially almost like little food ecosystems in their backyard.
Yes.
So, yeah, so
Yeah.
tell us about that.
Okay. Actually, it's twofold. So I actually created um, a plan or a vision for my own aina to be of a safe space for learning, whether it be with students or anyone in the community, visitors to our aina, a place to learn about our food as medicine, our plants as medicine, our plants as for lay, plants for uh, certain ailments, and for crafts for anyone. So that I put together a vision, and I have in a certain area um, lay plants. So I have ohai, and I have ohia, and I have kupu kupu and lay plants. And then another area, I have a setup where I want it to be medicinal plants. So I have mamaki, I have other medicinal plants, uh, and for food. So, a whole bevy of herbs and things like ma'i'a and uala and pohole, those kinds of ferns. And then, so I somehow got uh, connected with someone who was very interested in my vision, and that led me to become a part of the first um, presentation on my aina under the Food Security Hawaii and under Ohana Gardens. And so they had their first offering to 3 families in our community. And these 3 families are actually teachers, a principal, students of mine, their students are on to, middle school now, coaches. So we are all not only improving the relationship and connecting the dots. So Food Security Hawaii, that team consisted of, for this first presentation, Uncle George Kahumoku, incredible farmer and musician, of course. Jenny Pelch is a permaculturalist. Another Kanaka, her name is Robin Proctor. She has her own company, Weed Steam Hawaii. I had no idea that existed. Steaming the weeds, like the glycine, and that's an amazing. Anyway,
Okay. So that's
they're
weed control.
yeah,
Okay.
in a different way.
Oh.
Nothing chemically invasive. So they are part of Food Security Hawaii, and we brought the plants, and they taught the dynamics of, for example, one food island, one or two main trees. Maybe it might be a citrus, maybe it might be avocado, would be the main tree. And then the understory plants would be things like papaya or lemongrass, other herbs. And then you have like the creepers or like the mints underneath. So the diversity would um, celebrate the plants that attracted the good bugs and deterred the bad bugs.
Right. So it
So
kind of
you're
becomes an
right.
ecosystem, right?
It is a mini ecosystem.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I started on my Aina with that first one. We did a second one with other families, and so they were given these food plants, which is a beautiful thing. That's how you create new farmers. You give them the proper tools for success. So they were given the compost, the organic compost. They were given the mulch. We did it all together as a team. We went to each house and we did it with everyone so that it is, basically building food forests. It's what we want to do. We want to build food forests. So if I need calamansi, well, right down the road, she's got calamansi.
Right.
Anybody
You're building
who
your
needs...
own. Yeah, you're building your own food hub. Okay.
Oh, so I have a few things to show you if I could.
Yeah, sure.
So I already showed you orange mint. So these are so it's adding a little flavor to your garden that is kind of exciting. Orange mint, chocolate mint for our lei.
Oh.
Delicious. And I have things to create with that. That's so exciting. I have ohai. Ohai is a plant that I positioned on this hillside that is, the soil is dry, not that nutrient rich. So ohai is one of those lei plants that nitrogenates the soil. That is a great one. Here's something very exotic that Jenny Pell, she introduced us to, that, besides the herbs and the food plants, but you also have very unique other kind of plants that can be flowers that have color. I mean, you're beautifying your food island there. But I had never heard of this before.
It looks like a mushroom. Looks like a mushroom.
You're a plant person. It starts with an S. Spilanthes.
Yeah, I know many other better plant people than myself.
This is Spilanthes. Have you ever heard of that?
No, I haven't.
Spilanthes, this flower, this is the flower. And if you nibble on it, or if you bite into it, it numbs your entire mouth.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I tried it. I would not do it again.
So if you have a toothache, then you don't need to go into the store and buy that, whatever that medicine is. Just use that.
I think everyone's different, but that was just very interesting.
How long did it Stay numb.
Maybe like 10 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the beauty of food islands, is that you can have all these new and interesting colors, but some of these flowers will help deter the bad insects and will
Okay.
attract, yeah,
I
the
was
good
gonna say,
insects.
would
But
you
it's
include that one in your on your food island or on your medicinal
not for
island?
me.
Your medicinal island, right?
I have yet. I mean, actually, on the second round of families that came, they tried it out, and yeah, they were like, "Whoa!" But everyone's different when it comes to. Some people develop, allergies to mint. Just everyone's
Right.
different. But that's the
Right.
beauty. That's the beauty of food islands, is that you have your choices, and you learn so much more about how fruiting plants need certain amounts of time and energy to better develop fruits, like a blood orange. So it's been since February when it was planted. The buds and the flowers are coming out, but according to the permaculturalist, you want to pick the buds and the flowers so that all the energy is put in to the main part of the plant,
Right.
so that it can help to
Right.
produce better, and um, um, uh, more fruit.
Right. Well, that's a
Yeah.
great thing about getting to know people like that, or farmers, and you get to learn about different kinds of food plants, and that some of them you can eat the entire every part of the plant, or maybe just certain parts, and how to cook them, and there's so much to know and to experiment with. And
Yes.
one of the cilantro is something that either people love it or they hate it, and I happen to be someone who loves it like a lot. And
Love
but
cilantro.
yeah, but I never knew that you could eat the cilantro flowers. And
Yes.
so Serena, our friend Serena, she had made some salads for me, and she included the cilantro flowers, which are super pretty little white flowers. And I'm like, it looks like it's for decoration, but if it's in your dish, then obviously it's edible. But when I ate it, I was
And
so
it packs a
surprised.
punch.
It does. I mean, it just I just fell in love, and I just couldn't get enough cilantro flowers. So,
Yeah.
but that's
Same with the Thai basil or the basils.
oh,
So in
okay.
my pineapple Thai basil super shot,
Yeah.
I want definitely include the leaves, but I also, because of the essential oils in
Mm,
the bud and in the taste of the flower, I make sure I put that in the shot as well.
yeah.
So even microgreens, there's the Mahi of Mean the Greens, beautiful presentation of his booth, educating folks on microgreens and the nutrient richness of those baby greens,
Mm.
sunflower sprouts, pea sprouts, and that's the baby. Those are the babies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to touch a little bit on, just kind of the conservation aspects of these food islands that you're doing, because I think there's so much benefit. As you know, we import over 90% of everything that we use in the islands, and, almost all of our food. And, the thing is, you don't have to be growing acres and acres of food. Uh, Even if you, like,
Nope.
we started growing lemongrass and green onions and basil on our balcony, and being able to use that in our diet, which has been really
Yeah.
great. And I don't consider myself a green thumb at all, but I can do that little bit. But there's the conservation benefits of
Mhm.
these food islands, and if more and more people did this, is it would mean having to rely less on imported goods, on imported foods, right? Which then
And yeah.
lessens our reliance on the fossil fuels that it takes to bring
Mhm.
those things over. Energy uses a lot of fossil fuel, but actually,
Mhm.
2/3 of the fossil fuel that we consume is from transportation. So
Yeah.
things that
Right.
get here by boat, by airplane, traveling around in cars and trucks, that is the bulk of our fossil fuel consumption. And so anything that we can do to grow our own food really helps with that. And definitely it's healthier and better for us, right? So, again, going
Absolutely.
back
Yeah.
to that Earth Day theme, every little bit that we can do helps. And so
Yes.
we should never think that any effort like that is too small.
Yes. And you just reminded me of something. I hope the world knows that of um, your being key in the banning of plastic bags on Maui, right? Mahalo for that.
Right. Yeah, that was
But
a lot of people behind that.
yeah, and I've learning more and more about even paper bag production.
Right.
And paper bag production, even that is like there's too much um, um, valuable resources being put towards paper
Right.
bag
And
production.
the process to make that is also not the best. And my last guest
No.
is our friend Cheryl King. So we're talking a lot
Yeah.
about trash and marine debris and
Yeah.
all these
She's
plastics
a
and
great
stuff. And
contributor.
yeah, and we also touched on the plastic bag ban and how quickly we saw a noticeable difference in the amount of plastic bags flying around in the environment. It
Crazy.
was kind of miraculous how quickly that one. I hate to call it a ban, but essentially, okay, that's what it was. It was a plastic bag reduction bill, but
Yeah.
that was introduced by the council member Mike Molina at that time, and yeah, that was a lot of fun to promote that concept, and it was definitely not without controversy, and it took a lot of practice for people to get used to bringing their own bags to the store. But look at where we
There's
are
still a
today.
lot out there, though.
There's
Yeah.
still a lot there, but a lot of people have really adopted it as a new thing, and
Yeah.
kind of really well on their way. And that's what I have some tips that I want to share later for people to kind of do what they can.
Oh,
And
good.
yeah, and that's one of them. And when I first started to promote the plastic bag ban, because it passed in 2008, but it wasn't enacted it until 2011 to kind of give people a chance to get used to the idea. But I said, I'm going to start now in 2008. So promoting plastic reusable bags, and really learning to kind of punish myself if I did not bring my own bag to the store. I wouldn't take one. And if it meant that I had to carry all my stuff out with my own two hands because I forgot my bag, that's what I did.
Sacrifice.
I did that,
Sacrifice.
yeah, until I trained
Yeah.
myself that I need to remember my bags, and it's not such a big deal, and
Reusable.
it's a great thing to do for the planet.
Yep.
I want to ask you for the children, because I know you're working with kids too. You're working with families and kids and
Yep.
teaching them how to grow plants and things like
Yep.
that. Have you noticed how adaptable the children are in not only getting their hands dirty, but also being willing to try new food plants or new foods and
Mm-hmm.
new dishes from what they've grown? Have you noticed any kind of or what were your observations?
So I teach at two schools. One is an independent school. One is a public school. And for the public school now, and I sent you some pictures. I haven't seen them in a year, but on these Zoom classes, I love it. I like almost like put together a whole surprise package of sustainable goods and products that are out there, or tips on what they can do to practice being more environmentally aware and lessen the waste. Um, the the hydro flasks, everyone's on board with the hydro flasks. That's great. Um, as far as plastic use with their home lunches, from just before the pandemic hit, a lot of plastic, covering small amounts of food.
Right.
So that again is a different problem. That is a different, organic or certified organic whole foods that are super nutrient rich that are $10 versus $1.50, processed foods. That is a heva. That is so wrong, and that is part of the horror the whole horror of the food system nowadays. So as far as practices, I don't know. Maybe this pandemic is a catalyst for these families, which is why these food islands hopefully will be helping them get inspired. The whole family, not
Mhm.
just mom who's got to go,
Right.
cook it, but maybe the kids, and some of these kids are there. We're putting these gardens together, and they actually have to plant these plants. But I hope I can be more involved in the future, um, in setting up like tastings, and get kids inspired and excited on putting mint with watermelon,
Right.
or creating. I think is something that these kids, they want to get their hands dirty. So in another school that I that I teach at, I actually have brought in certain elements of these super nutrient rich foods. And oh my God, I got little foodies on my hands over there. They love the microgreens. Oh my God, this is my favorite class. And they're actually tasting the offerings of these organic
Mhm.
farmers. So that I hope can spark. So that's it, education wise. It's I think it's just different. There's a difference in the types of families that are able to, again, that's a food system problem, afford the great nutrient rich foods that are too expensive versus the other things that
But
are not very good for you.
yeah, but if they're learning to grow at least some of their food, even as tiny percentage of their food, they're already
Yes.
ahead of the game and
Yeah,
eating food that is more nutritious for them. And I think doing this with schools and students is pretty powerful because
it
kids
is.
generally when they're all together and they seem more willing to try something, and maybe they're
Yes. And
trying mint in school that they would never be introduced to at home. So that's a
mm-hmm.
real opportunity.
Yep. And being locked down in their house, I see this, it in the students that they wanna get their hands dirty. And
Yeah.
one class I had the kids, let's go look for bugs. They're like, wait, yeah, let's go look for.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you to Food Security Hawaii. So they are ordering grow bags for our students, and I did a little demo Tuesday, and I took them on Zoom, um, outside of my yard, and I show them how to plant uala. First, what the grow bags look like, how it works. You put the soil, the good stuff in, nutrient rich stuff, that the flap opens where you can harvest your sweet potato later. Okay, and then we go out and I actually show them how to um, pluck off the tip or the end of the leaf of the uala, and that can be planted. And what, not every single um, extension of the uala is going to be a sweet potato, but you can at least plant and conserve and protect your future source of uala. And so they're going to get these free grow bags very soon. And that is,
Nice.
again, the secret to success and lifting these kids up to success. Give them the proper tools.
Yeah, and kids learn better when they're not hungry, and
Yes.
yeah, and adults are
And
happier when they're not hangry either.
and that is the reason why my vision and joining forces with other like-minded individuals who can find the resources, the grants or whatever, to give these families organic mulch, to give these families organic compost, to give them the banana trees, to give them the citrus trees, all the nutrient dense foods that we need right now to strengthen our immunity in the community. Oh, I guess that's
Uh,
another phrase that it's my thing now, is boosting the immunity in our community.
yeah, and everybody understands now why that's important, being in this
Mm-hmm.
pandemic, yeah.
Totally.
So beyond the three families that you were already started working with, if another family or even an individual wants to learn how to build these food islands or lay islands or medicinal islands, can they contact you for
Yes.
some help? And how
Yes.
would they do that?
Yep. So they can call my number. Should I say it on the air?
Yeah, go ahead.
808-357-1927. It's on the bottles, super shots. But yes, and we can definitely get you in. We're planning for another round of families to receive these food plants and the tools to grow these food islands. Um, and there's actually a waiting list now. So
Wow.
there's families that see the benefits, that appreciate the opportunity, and they have help. We're going to be doing it together, and again, um, it's empowering each family to surround themselves with quality food,
That's an
and
awesome mission. And you
it
don't have
is
to have a
empowering.
green thumb, right? I mean, you'll basically help
Yeah,
them develop their green thumb.
yeah,
Eh,
yes,
Yeah,
and
great.
hopefully we do have experts like George Kahumoku and others. Tons of Maui is filled with great resources of farmers. Um, Jenny Pell was the first one to kind of chart out an omnia paper. She was almost like you were in class, and she was telling you the dynamics of the roots and connecting and the roots communicating to each other, um, and that, so that is empowering as well. So with some of us who can learn from the professionals, or then we are armed with that Ike, and then now we can strive to become the experts. And that's kind of what,
Right.
in Hawaii, cultural practitioners, that's that's the goal. We are striving to become the experts, the masters, like Papa Mau Piailug, tons of experts out there
Mm-hmm.
that have
Mm-hmm.
left us with the greats. So here's another quote, of course, Papa Mal's great quote that I am passing on to some of the kids now. If I have courage, it is because I have faith in the knowledge of my ancestors. And so that kind of is a huge umbrella for where we should be heading with ourselves now in this pandemic, bettering our own health, not just physical health, but mental health, psychological health, or mental health, emotional health, and spiritual health. It's all related.
Yeah, and what you're doing is you're empowering people to take charge of their own food supply, their food intake, their nutrition and health, and it
Hmm.
feels very empowering and like a big sense of accomplishment to grow something that you can harvest and pick. And like I said, I've never successfully grown anything before in my life, but since this pandemic started, and we have friends who are really good, have green thumbs and have shared, not only things they've grown, but given us things to grow ourselves. And for some, I think Arlie has a better green thumb than I do, but it feels really good to be able to grow some of your
It
own
does feel
food,
good.
and that's the
Yep.
equivalent of you know give someone a fish, they'll eat for a day. Teach them how to fish, they'll eat for a lifetime. So this is kind of the land-based equivalent of that. So
Yep.
I know you love what you do, and thank goodness you're outside a lot because you're getting a lot of fresh air and sunshine. So you're not always in front of a computer. And I don't imagine you have a lot of downtime. But when you do, what do you like to do, or how do you spend your time?
Yes. Creating new combinations of flavors, colors, so that the last few salads I put together is definitely from experimenting, which is basically what we like to do. We like to eat.
Eat your
We like
colors.
color. We love color. you eat the rainbow. If you like the super shots, you're drinking the rainbow. So you're creating, you are honoring nature, you're you're improving your mental health by acknowledging that these foods are good for you, and you're physically, you're like down to chemistry, you are improving your gut health, and 70% of immunity originates in our gut. I mean, and I try to explain it to the kids, but it's not the food that's in your belly. Your belly, it's your opal. Your belly is not. That's not it. It's the whole um, environment of the good microflora and that really good way you feel when you eat healthy stuff. When you eat a ton of junk, fast food, you feel heavy. You might feel guilty, and guilty is not a good thing to feel. But you also, I mean, chemically, that's why they put certain things in foods to make you want to keep eating them. It's too
Right.
much salt, refined sugars. But really, once you get, and that's kind of another thing that I was able to overcome, is learning how to take away things from your diet. I no longer eat refined sugars or hardly any, processed flours. A lot of times, folks don't really know that all of these things that are in their cookies, in their breads, in
Right. So it
so
just follow where your food is grown and processed and all of
yeah,
that. And I definitely am not a purist. Not yet. I'm trying to get better and better as time goes on and we get older. Um, but every step that you can take is a step in the right direction to better
yes,
health. And one thing that I
yeah,
have started to do a lot is read labels. When I go to the
yeah,
store and I shop, I definitely look for the sugar content. I look for the sodium content, and I look at the list of ingredients. And I never used to do that. And uh, you know, a lot of times, probably more than half the time if I'm picking up a new product, maybe even most of the time actually, I look at the sugar and sodium content and say, it's too much, and I put it back. No matter how
yeah.
nice the picture looks on the box and you really want to try it, but so now
I
I
get
gotta
you.
put it back, and my body will thank me later. But
Yeah.
yeah, so we're gonna wrap up here shortly. I have some tips that I want to share about Earth Day, but before that, what is next on your bucket list? Because I know you're always conjuring up new ideas, and you're just
Yeah.
beginning this whole vision of yours that your things you're
Yes.
doing now. But have you thought about
Yeah.
what's next on your bucket list?
On my bucket list or my my
Your
to do
vision list?
list. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna tell you like a more um, current thing that can be accomplished. So there's a fourth um, super shot that you and Arlie
Hmm.
have enjoyed, the Suriname cherry and olena. That is a powerhouse
That
of
is Ono.
inflammation fighting, and so I need to get that out there with labels. Um, but I guess vision wise, in like a life bucket list, I've been to Scotland before, um, two or three times. So in my genealogy, on my dad's side, um, Isaac Davis was one person in Hawaiian history who um, was one of Kamehameha the Great's right hand man or advisors. So he is in my genealogy, and as many ali'i do, their wahine or they have wives, they have different wives, and they may be given or a couple with another person that they know. So I would like to um, explore my my relatives who were from Scotland, and maybe connect and see who, maybe go visit, some kupuna who are related. It's that kind of thing. So actually, a lot of um, Kanaka Maui, Kanaka Oiwi have British bloodlines, because of our strong relationship, our ali'i with British and like Irish or Welsh or Scottish. So that in the future, I kind of want to, I just thought about that a couple of days ago. I might want to look up my
Yeah, that sounds
ancestors
exciting.
in Scotland, so that
Yeah.
is way in the future. Other than that, I need to further develop my aina so that it can be a future safe learning space for, um, Zoom classes, or if it's getting to be, um, you know, lei season or graduation season. You want to learn how to make this lei? Okay, you come, and then we can teach you how to make this type of lei because we have these lei plants. You're feeling a little ill. Okay, well, maybe some mamaki we can, and I want to have presentations here and have experts of mamaki tea making, maybe experts of other cultures that have already come to me, and like for this woman from India, she would like to maybe in the future come and share with the community Indian culture, or even when we have visitors from our relatives from Aotearoa or Tonga or other places. This can be we don't want to use the word gathering, but a
It's not a
safe
word we want to use right now.
no, a safe, socially distanced presentation to learn about what we can't actually, you know, um, receive. Like we can't just hop on a plane. I mean, we could, but it's not safe.
Right.
So maybe have all these resources, give their, their expertise, or help share culture, share their knowledge
Right.
with our community.
Yeah, because food and things like that. This really bonds people together and brings cultures together, and you find the
Yes.
differences, of course, but I think you also will find a lot of similarities. And I know you, Tina, you're never short of a great idea. You're a visionary, but you're also the doer. Some people are visionaries, great visionaries, but don't know how to carry things out, and other people know how to be the doer but they don't have the ideas, and you're just somebody who has both. You're very inspiring. um,
Thank you. Thank you.
Before we wrap up, I want to share some really quick tips that I was thinking about today. And Earth Day, it shouldn't be something that is celebrated once every 365 or 60, yeah, 65 days. I mean, really, it needs to be the opposite. I mean, we really need to be thinking about and practicing things that help to make our earth healthier and better for everyone every day. So I think we need to make Earth Day every day, and you do
Yeah,
that every day of your life.
I
So
told
here,
the kids that today.
yeah, truly, and especially living on a remote set of islands. I mean, our survival and our quality of life definitely depends on it, and depends on everybody doing their part. So if you are doing even something small, it's doing something, and it's doing something in the right directions. They're in the right direction, right? So here's some things that I thought about. You know, Something I'm gonna do tomorrow: shop at a local farmers market. I do that every week because I like shopping local, and not everything is necessarily organic, but it is grown locally, which means it didn't have to be brought in from somewhere else, and it's fresh. It's great quality. And not everything for helping the planet is going to cost money. There are a lot of things you can do that are creative, that are helpful, and doesn't necessarily mean you have to, know, uh, take out money from your bank account. And there are lots of other things you can do. Take a shorter shower, especially if you have teenagers. Take a, make them take a shorter shower. Even
Yeah,
just A little bit shorter. It
What's
helps.
the
Every bit helps.
what's the rule on kaho'olawe? How many minutes are you supposed to shower?
It was probably like 5 minutes or 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
3 minute
Yeah,
shower.
it's been a while since I've been there, and yeah. You can
Good
okay,
tip.
even something as simple as post a message on your social media page. Everybody's on social media these days. There's a lot of things that better things that we can write about. And so if you just write a post about what you're gonna do today, not what you're thinking about or what you want to preach to others to do about, but what are you doing today? Or is it you're gonna remember to take your own grocery bag to the store, or that you're going to go to a farmer's market today? It's just actionable items, and share about it on social media. And you never know who else is going to say, wow, that's a great idea. I think I'll try that too. You can, going back to the plastic bag ban, and that we are well into now, bring your own bag when you go shopping. But of course, with the pandemic, maybe it's not a great idea to bring your own bag. Some stores don't want you to do that. So what I've been doing is just putting all my things back in my cart, and I'll bag everything at my car. So I still don't have to take a bag.
That's a good point.
Incorporating a meatless meal, and it doesn't have to be a Monday. It can be any day of the week. And just,
Yeah.
having a meatless meal once in a while is good for your health, but it also means that we're going to help to reduce greenhouse gases, less water consumption that it takes to raise animals for consumption. The grain that is fed to cows can be fed to people instead. And yeah, benefits your health. Recycling is great, but it's even better if you can reuse or repurpose. And I know you're great at that because I've seen your beautiful collection of bottles that yeah, and you collect all kinds of bottles. You don't throw anything away. I mean, the bottles that you use, a jar of, I don't know, pickles, and you'll use that to drink out of. And it's actually
Yeah.
pretty cool because you have a
That it
big
is.
assortment of colors and sizes and
Yeah.
shapes. Where possible, because it's, people have to do whatever is in their means, but where possible, choosing to use natural cleaning products rather than others that are full of chemicals. And natural cleaners are better for your health and for the environment.
Yes.
And lastly, if you are behooved to and able to, you can always make a donation to an organization that is doing something for the environment, whether it's a conservation or a group that is managing invasive species, cleaning up marine debris on the beach, or beautifying the island, whatever it is, and whatever moves you.
Yeah.
Making a donation, big or small, it doesn't matter. It's just if you're, everything that you do, you become part of the solution and not a part of the problem. So just want to
Yeah.
share those
Yeah.
tips. And thanks, Tina, so
Very
much
good.
for being here. I enjoyed
Thank
talking with
you.
you, and please come
Yes.
back and I think when you, or maybe several more months into
Oh,
this
maybe we'll
project,
do a food challenge or food testing something.
a
Figure
food,
that out.
yeah, food tasting would be good.
Anything food.
Yeah, anything food. But thanks so much. I really appreciate your time
Okay.
today.
Thank you, Kuhea.
And
All
I want
right.
to,
Take care.
yes, I want to thank our producers, the Riff Wailuku. Thank you guys for making today's show possible, as well as all of our viewers who have been tuning in. And please remember to hit the subscribe buttons, and you can watch all the other podcasts that we have put out there. And thank you so much for joining us. And we'll see you next time for another Conservation Conversations Hawaii. Aloha.